Okay, I will just mathematically prove it. So equation of state for a perfect gas from gas laws. Boyle's law, PV equal to constant, isothermal process. Charles' law, V by T equal to constant for isobaric process. And consider a system undergoing isothermal process from 1 to 2, followed by an isobaric process 2 to 3, as shown in the PV diagram on the right side. So 1 to 2, if you take the isothermal process, we know that P1 V1 equal to P2 V2 and T1 equal to T2. And also isothermal line is a rectangular hyperbola, because xy equal to constant on xy graph is rectangular hyperbola. Isotherm also is a rectangular hyperbola. Okay, then 2 to 3, it is a constant pressure line. Isobaric process, it is a horizontal line. So you can see in the PV diagram where Charles' law is valid, V2 by T2 equal to V3 by T3 and P2 equal to P3. So if you combine, if you take P2 V2 by T2, so P2 equal to P3 we know, V2 by T2 equal to V3 by T3 we know. So P2 V2 by T2 is equal to P3 V3 by T3. In the same way, P2 V2 by T2 if you take, we know that P2 V2 is P1 V1 and T2 is T1. So we get P1 V1 by T1. So from these things, we can get P1 V1 by T1 equal to P2 V2 by T2 equal to P3 V3 by T3. And so PV by T is equal to constant. And that constant is characteristic as constant. And PV equal to RT, we say is the equation of state. And we have seen various other formulae like ideal gas equation, gas laws equation of state, and then real gas equations of state, Van der Waals equation, Beatty-Bridgman equation, Benedict-Webb-Rubin equation, Strobridge equation, and the real equation of state. And we have discussed the application range of application for each of them. This is about the previous class. And in this class, we just talk about heat and work. Okay, so they are very simple things, but we go in general. So introduce the concept of energy and define its forms, discuss the nature of internal energy, define the concept of heat and the terminology associated with energy transferred by heat, define the concept of work, including electrical work and several forms of mechanical work, and define thermodynamic work, and derive expressions for displacement work for various processes. And okay, now I ask you one question. Suppose I have in my hall a refrigerator. I close all the doors and I switch on the refrigerator and I open the door of the refrigerator. What happens to the temperature of the room? Usually sometimes
Increases.
Yeah, increases. Why it increases? Okay, this is what happens. So if you
because a refrigerator release heat.
Yeah, actually work transfer takes place. Now if you see, though it is a closed room, there is no mass transfer. Electrical energy gets transferred into the room from outside. So normally we feel that there is no energy transfer or mass transfer for a closed room. But actually, because when I switch on the refrigerator, there will be electrical work crossing the boundary of the room into the room. So there is work transfer. And so because of that, and there is no heat transfer because it is completely insulated room and there is no heat transfer. So work transfer is there. So when work is going in, so what happens to that? Right? It gets converted into internal energy. So first law of thermodynamics, delta Q is equal to du plus delta W. Delta Q is 0. So delta W is equal to minus du. Right? Or minus delta W is equal to du. When work is done on the system, W is negative. So minus delta W is equal to plus du. So du is positive. Means U increase. U increase because U is a function of temperature. Temperature of the room increase. Is my argument clear? So if we take the entire room, including the air and the refrigerator or a fan as the system, which is an adiabatic closed system, since the room is well sealed and well insulated, the only energy interaction involved is electrical energy crossing the system boundary and entire the room. As a result, the conversion of electrical energy consumed by the device to heat, the room temperature will rise. Its internal energy of the air that is there in the room increase. So even that is true for the fan also. So if a fan running in a well-sealed and well-insulated room will rise the temperature of air in the room. Okay, we will discuss in detail about the forms of energy. We have various forms of energy: thermal, mechanical, kinetic, potential, electric, magnetic, chemical, nuclear, and all their sums we call them as total energy of a system. And normally we deal with change of the energy. Thermodynamics deals with only change of internal energy, change of enthalpy, change of entropy, like that. All the equations if you see, it finds out the change. That's why in the last class we talked about we have to define reference states. Okay, and the energy is again classified in another classification as macroscopic form and microscopic form. And macroscopic means those a system possesses as a whole with respect to some outside reference frame, such as kinetic energy and potential energy. So how can you say some system has potential energy? Because it is a reference to some outside reference frame. It is above the, okay, ground is the reference, suppose. It is above the ground so much or below the ground so much so that it will have potential energy. In the same way, kinetic energy, we have to, it is because of the velocity with respect to something, right? So it is going with some velocity and so it possesses kinetic energy. So this is a macroscopic form. And microscopic form of energy is the mainly internal energy that is related to molecular structure of a system and the degrees of molecular activity. This is called internal energy, which is microscopic form. And so always we have seen that energy gets transformed from one to the other. Suppose if you see nuclear energy, at least 6 different forms of energy are encountered in bringing power from nuclear power plant to your home. So we have atoms having nuclear energy. So that is fission, nuclear fission if it takes place, then we will have thermal energy. And that thermal energy in a turbine or IC engine, it gets converted into mechanical energy. And due to mechanical energy, there will be rotation of the shaft and kinetic energy will be there. And then because of the motor, there will be magnetic energy and which is converted to electrical energy. Finally, we use the electrical energy in our homes. Okay, this is the way various forms of energy gets changed from one to the other. And the total energy is conserved, okay? And so kinetic energy of the system, which possesses as a result of its motion relative to some reference frame. Similarly, potential energy, the system possesses as a result of its elevation in a gravitational field. And we know all these things, K equal to half mv square, and that is total energy, total kinetic energy. And kinetic energy per unit mass divided by mass, and we write small letters Ke is equal to v square by t, 2, right? Similarly, potential energy mgz, and potential energy per unit mass is gz, and the total energy of the system. So there are so many energies we talked about, but in thermodynamics, we deal with only these 3 energies: internal energy, kinetic energy, and potential energy, which is capital U is the total internal energy plus mv square by 2 plus mgz. This is the total energy of the system. And per unit mass, small u, v square by 2 plus gz. And if there is energy flow rate, okay, so we put a dot on the E. So that is energy per unit time is equal to mass flow per unit time into specific energy. So these will be in watts. When you take the previous capital E is equal to, that is in joules, kilojoules, and E dot will be in the watts because that is energy per unit mass. This is power. Okay, mass and energy flow rates associated with the flow system in a pipe in a diameter capital D with an average velocity V average. So mass flow rate is m dot is equal to rho V dot. V dot is discharge or volumetric flow. So density means meter cube, kgs per meter cube, and V dot is flow rate or volume flow rate, that is meter cube per second. So multiplying these two, you will get kgs per second, which is mass flow rate. And volumetric flow rate V dot is equal to A into V. A is the cross-sectional area, V is the average velocity. So again, V dot is meter cube per second. Here AC is meter square into V average is meters per second. So AVC ACV average is meter cube per second. So that is the way units homogeneity will be there. And energy flow rate is E dot is equal to M dot E. This is for flow process. For a closed system, there is nothing like mass flow. Okay. And internal energy is due to various molecular activities within the system. And these internal energy, there is sensible energy, latent energy, chemical energy, and nuclear energy. Sensible energy is the portion of internal energy of the system associated with kinetic energy of the molecules. Latent energy is associated with the phase of the system. And chemical energy is with atomic bonds of the molecule. And the nuclear energy associated with the strong bonds within the nucleus of the atom itself. Okay, so these are the 4 types of energies. And so thermal energy is sensible energy and latent energy. So as in the last class when we are studying about heating water, so first water, suppose at 20 degrees centigrade if you take, and if you heat it, it goes up to 100 degrees centigrade in 1 atmospheric pressure. So the heat taken by the water for increasing the temperature is called the sensible heat without change of phase. So when the heat is absorbed to change of the phase, for the change of phase, then it is called latent heat. So that is the big difference between sensible heat and latent heat. Okay, heat transfer to increase the temperature of the system without change of phase is sensible heat. And heat transfer which changes the phase is called the latent heat. Just 1 minute, please. Yes, Babu. Okay. And so sensible and latent heat of energy, and chemical energy is the bond energy, and nuclear energy which by the explosion. Okay. So these are various forms of internal energy. And again, we classify the energy in 2 types, static energy and dynamic energy. Static energy is the stored energy, and dynamic energy is energy interaction. So whatever internal energy we have studied, that is static form of energy and which is stored within the system. And the dynamic energy is energy transfer across the boundary. So that's what we have seen, that there are 2 types of energy that can cross the boundary of the system, and that is heat transfer and work. These 2 are energies in transit. We call them as energy in transient energy, or energy which can be seen at the boundary. Okay, so work and heat has a similarity in a lot of aspects that we see in the next slide. And what is the difference between heat transfer and work? The energy interaction is heat transfer if its driving force is a temperature difference, otherwise it is work. So whatever energy transfer is taking place between the system and surroundings, if it is due to temperature gradient only, then it is heat transfer. If it is due to the gradient of any other property, right? So pressure difference is there, or other differences, right? So any intensive property, if there is a difference between system and surroundings, there will be energy transfer, and that is called as work. Okay, that is the difference between heat transfer and work transfer. How do we distinguish? So we have to see why this energy transfer is taking place, due to what property difference. If it is temperature property that is differed with the system and surroundings, then it is heat transfer. And the other thing, the microscopic kinetic energy is an organized form of energy, macroscopic, and is much more useful than disorganized microscopic kinetic energies of the molecules. Suppose I have a lot of water is there, and all the molecules are moving around inside the water, and that is microscopic form of energy, which will not give me any work. But the whole water, when it is moving out like this, and then it can turn a turbine and it can produce work. This can be converted into work, and this is macroscopic form of energy. Okay, that is the difference between macroscopic kinetic energy and microscopic kinetic energy. Microscopic kinetic energy gives internal energy, but that is not useful for us. And the nuclear energy, we know we can extract it through fission or fusion. The best known fission reaction involves the split of the uranium atom U-235 isotope into other elements, and is commonly used to generate electricity in nuclear power plants. to power nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers, and even to power spacecraft as well as building nuclear bombs, right? This nuclear fission is useful. And nuclear fusion is released when two small nuclei combine into a larger one. Okay, this is nuclear fusion. And all our solar energy and all is because of the nuclear fusion that takes place within the stars and sun. The uncontrolled fusion reaction was achieved in the early 1950s, but all the efforts since then to achieve controlled fusion by massive lasers, powerful magnetic fields, and electric currents to generate power have failed. Still, we could not use it for common purpose, the energy that can be extracted from the fusion. But fission can be controlled, due to which we have nuclear power plants and submarines, aircrafts run by nuclear energy. Those are run by fission. So U-235, and when neutron hits it, then it 3 neutrons we get, and cesium and rubidium we will get Rb93. In the same way, fusion, 2 hydrogen atoms combine to form helium atom, and 1 more neutron comes out like this. So this is fusion reaction, which takes place, as I told, in the stars and sun. And mechanical energy, the form of energy that can be converted into mechanical work completely and directly by an ideal mechanical device, such as an ideal turbine. And the familiar forms of mechanical energy, actually, if you have a chapter in fluid mechanics, if you have studied in your +2, so you will have that mechanical energy is due to the pressure and the velocity and the datum level at high level. So this is, I think you might have come across Bernoulli's equation, and which says Bernoulli's constant is constant throughout the flow. So P by rho plus V square by 2 plus Gz is equal to constant. So the units are meter square per second square. So here meter square per second square, this is meter square per second in meters into meter square per second. Sorry. Meters per second square into meter square per second square. This is meter square per second square. And this also, if you substitute this in pascals and this is kgs per meter cube, you will get meter square per second square, which shows it is dimensionally homogeneous. And this is the total mechanical energy. And if there is no heat transfer and work transfer, so usually this is used in fluid mechanics. When there is a fluid flow taking place from one point to another point, the total energy of the flow remains constant because there is no energy transfer is taking place, that is from outside. No work is given, no heat is given, then its total energy is this, which remains constant throughout the flow. So if you see here, mechanical energy is a useful concept for flows that do not involve significant heat transfer or energy conversion, such as the flow of gasoline from an underground tank into car. Okay, when you pump the car, gasoline or diesel or petrol into the car, so the total energy of the water remains constant during the flow. In the same way, suppose if you take here a turbine, right? So if you take 1 point here at 1 and 1 point here at 4, the work is equal to m dot into the change in the energy of the fluid. Okay, so here the pressure is same here and here, atmospheric pressure. There is no change in pressure, so that is delta P is 0. And similarly, the velocity of the flow here, because they are stationary fluids, the velocity is 0. So the change in kinetic energy is 0. Whatever work is produced, it is by converting the potential energy into work. So W dot max is equal to m dot into delta E mechanical energy. So mg into Z1 minus Z4 is the change in potential energy. And because of this, because water is coming from the very high potential energy to low potential energy, that energy is converted to work in the turbine. Okay, so that is the way. And here, this is this will be connected to generator. And so when the turbine rotates, it rotates the shaft, and then this motor generates the power, or generator generates the power. And here also, if you take the W dot max, okay, suppose here the change in water surface elevation from the upper stream to the downstream that is here the work is obtained. Here the drop in water pressure from just upstream to the downstream of the turbine. So here, if there is high, just if I take the system from here to here, that is coming like this. So if I take only turbine as the system, here there won't be any change. The water enters and leaves almost at the same height. So there will not be change in the datum level, or potential energy change will not be there. But the pressures will be different at before and after. So because expansion takes place, so the pressure, this will be very high, and here the pressure will be very low because expansion is taking place in the turbine. So P2 minus P3 by rho is the change in pressure energy, which is converted to work. So it depends on how you take the system also, system boundary, how you take. So it is to demonstrate that we show this example. And then we concentrate some time on the heat and some time on the work. Heat, the form of energy that is transferred between two systems by virtue of a temperature difference. So this is the, if I take a closed system, this is system boundary. So there can be heat transfer and there can be work transfer across a closed system. And suppose if I take in a room, there is a soda, this is 25 degrees centigrade and this is at 25 degrees centigrade, then there will not be any heat transfer because no temperature gradient. If I take this tin at 15 degrees centigrade, because this temperature is low and this is high, so there will be heat transfer from surroundings to the system. And so the amount of heat transfer may be some 8 joules per second. If this temperature is still low, so the temperature gradient is high, and so the energy transfer, heat transfer also will be high. It may be up to 16 joules per second. Like that, we can have energy transfer by heat. And total energy transfer by heat, that is called as Q, capital Q. And this is joules. The units is joules. And if you take per unit mass, we will have small q, q by m. So it is kilojoules per kg. And amount of heat transfer, then heat transfer rate is constant. If there is rate of heat transfer q dot is constant, then q dot dt is the heat transfer. So integral T1 to T2, and so much of rate of heat transfer is there, so many joules per second. So into the number of seconds dt, that gives the total heat transfer. So q dot dt, so this is watts and seconds, watts into seconds is joules. So we will get joules. So T1 to T2, how much? So T2 minus T1, q dot into T2 minus T1. So many seconds the heat is transferred at that particular rate. That's why we will get these so many joules. So capital Q is kilojoules, small q is kilojoules per kg, q dot is kilowatts. And during an adiabatic process, system exchange no heat with its surroundings. If it is completely insulated, so there will not be any heat transfer, whatever be the temperature difference. Now that cannot drive it because it is completely insulated. Okay, again, to see the difference, if the amount of heat transfer is 30 kilojoules per heat, and if the mass of the system, the working fluid is 2 kilojoules, and then the small q is 30 by 2, that is capital Q by m, that is 15 kilojoules per kg, and the rate of heat transfer, because 30 kilojoules in 5 seconds, the Q dot is 6 kilowatts, 30 by 5. And it took a lot of time for the scientists to understand what is this heat and which is heating, how it is getting heated and all. So in earlier days, there is what is called as caloric theory. So it is many times at the time of Aristotle, who is the first father of science and all, he has made a lot of theories, but many of them went wrong later in the history, right? But he is the father and he is the man who is behind all the science. So because of their exposure is less, and at that time the scientific research is not there, so they assumed some things. Like caloric theory, it asserts that heat is a fluid-like substance called the caloric, that is a massless, colorless, odorless, and tasteless substance that can be poured from one body into another. So when a cold body and hot body brought together, they thought some of the caloric which is there in the hot body goes into the cold body, and that's why its temperature rises and there is a heat transfer takes place. So they thought it is a substance-like thing. And so in the early 19th century, heat was thought to be an invisible fluid called the caloric that flowed from warmer bodies to the colder bodies. Okay, that is the way people thought. This is called as caloric theory. And the heat units, calories, came from that. And now the people understood about it, and the kinetic theory came, treats molecules as tiny balls that are in motion and thus possess kinetic energy. The energy associated with the random motion of atoms and molecules. And we know that heat transfer mechanisms are modes of heat transfer: conduction, convection, and radiation. And the transfer of energy from the more energetic particles of a substance to the adjacent, less energetic ones as a result of interaction between particles is called the conduction. Right? Because of the molecular vibrations, it goes from one body to another body, and it is by conduction. Convection is the physical movement of the fluid, the transfer of energy between a solid surface and an adjacent fluid that is in motion. And it involves the combined effects of conduction and fluid motion. And so actually convection is the sum of conduction and advection. Advection means the motion, movement, fluid motion. So there will be vibrations of particles due to which there will be some transfer, and also because of the physical movement of the fluid from one point to another point. So one is conduction and another is advection. These two together we call it as convection. And again, the convection can be of two types: natural convection and forced convection. And if suppose a hot body is kept outside on the table, so because of the colder atmosphere, there will be heat going out, and due to the temperature difference, there will be density difference of the fluid, and high temperature means low density, and it goes up naturally. And because of that, the surrounding hot fluid comes to the cold fluid comes to the hot fluid, and again it gets heated up, its density gets reduced, and due to buoyancy it goes up. So there will be a natural circulation takes place, and which is called as natural convection. If a hot coffee kept on the table, if it becomes cold, it is due to natural convection. But if I want to increase the heat transfer faster, and if I want to cool it faster, so what we do, we take a spoon and rotate it, or we blow air over that. That is called forced convection, or keep a fan before that. So then the heat transfer will be faster, and that type of convection with external agency like fan is called as the forced convection. And radiation, we know the transfer of energy due to the emission of electromagnetic waves or photons. This is called radiation. So it doesn't need any physical substance for heat transfer. So through radiation, we get heat from sun to the earth here due to radiation. There is nothing moving from there to here, and so it doesn't need any medium for heat transfer. Conduction and convection need medium for heat transfer. Radiation doesn't need any medium for heat transfer. And in conduction, all solids only will be there, and our liquids also may be there. But if liquid is there, there will be convection. If there is a fluid, liquid or gas, we will have convection, convective heat transfer. Okay, there is a, okay, is everything clear what I am talking about? If I am going fast, or if something is not clear, either audible or visible or something, you can just tell me, okay? Okay, thank you. And in my school days, one of my teachers told me to understand difference between conduction and convection and radiation. So a nice example he used to give. And he said, I want to pass on a message to the last student there. So when we are sitting on the benches there, and so he told, I can pass on the message in different forms. If I write it on the paper and give it to the first student, that student can pass on to the next student, next student, next student, like that. It can go to the last student. And this is what is called as conduction. All molecules, all the students are there only. Just by a little movement, they have passed on the message. This is conductive heat transfer. Okay, convection means, suppose that fellow gets up with the message and goes to the last student and gives it. There is a physical movement of that fellow from here to there, and that is convection. And suppose he makes it like a ball and throws it from here to there without any movement of himself or other students, then it is radiation. I like the way of explanation, just I'd like to share with you. Okay, that is about heat. Then coming to work, the energy transfer associated with a force acting through a distance. It can be a rising piston, it can be a rotating shaft, it can be electrical wire crossing the system boundaries, and all are associated with work interactions. And sign convention, this is very, very important. You have to remember this because heat transfer to a system is positive and heat transfer from the system is positive. And coming to work done by the system is positive, work done on the system is negative. Okay, these things we have to be very clear. And later we will understand still better why we have taken that type of convention. And alternative to sign convention is to use the subscripts in and out. So Q in means positive, Q out is negative, W in is negative, W out is positive. And similarly, work also, the capital W is work in kilojoules, small w, W by M, work done per unit mass, kilojoule per kg. And I told you there is a comparison between heat and work. Both are having similar properties. This is a transient phenomena. This is a boundary phenomena. And they doesn't possess, systems doesn't possess energy. The systems possess energy, but not heat or work. We cannot say the system has so much of heat. We cannot say this system has so much of work. We can say the system has so much of energy that is stored. And heat and work can be seen only at the boundary when it is crossing. So it doesn't possess. So it is not a property of the substance. And so it is not a point function. And both are associated with processes, not a state. At this particular state, how much heat it has? Nothing. How much work it has? Nothing. We cannot say anything. When it goes from one state to another state, how much heat is transferred? How much work is transferred? We can say. So it is a function of path or process. These are path functions associated with the process. And so they doesn't possess exact differentials. They possess inexact differentials. Integral dv, I can write v2 minus v1, but integral dw, we cannot write w2 minus w1. It is w12. And also we should write delta w, not dw. So delta, it represents it's a path function. D means it is a point function. And dv is exact differential. Delta w is inexact differential. So here from 1 to 2 when it is coming, so delta V, a change in volume, maybe 3 meter cube in the process A. In process B also delta VB must be same because here volume is fixed and here volume is fixed, change in volume is same. But the work, right? So here the work will be different, here the work will be WA in the process A is 8 kilojoules and WB is 12 kilojoules. Okay, so you know actually integral PDV, here the area under this curve is less and area under this curve is more. So integral PDV is the work done. And so process A, the work transfer is less. For process B, the work transfer is more. Okay, so various works are there. Quickly, we will go through them. So this is electrical work. When n coulombs, it is charge of electric charge, move through a potential difference V, then the electrical work done is Vn. And per unit time, if you take, that is W dot. So charge per unit time is current. So VI. I is in amperes, V is in volts. So VI is in watts. And potential difference and current change with time. So integral, if it is going from one state to another state, integral 1 to 2 VI dt. Okay. So this is the way we can find out the electrical work. Mechanical form of work, it is what we study in engineering mechanics. So when a force moves from one body to another, one point to another point, there is a distance traveled. So work is equal to force into distance. Okay, this is the one which we are familiar as work means force into distance, like that. But in thermodynamic work, it is one of them, right? So there can be electrical work, mechanical work, and many other types of work we are going to discuss. So W is equal to F into S. If it is going straight, if I know that, so when it is moving, W is equal to integral 1 to 2 from one point to another point, F ds, right? And similarly, shaft work, torque is equal to force into radius. So R force is equal to T by R. And S is equal to how much distance it travels for each rotation, that is 2 pi R, into N is the number of revolutions. So S is equal to 2 pi R into N, that is the distance traveled by a point here, suppose. And W shaft is equal to F into S. F is T by R, and S is 2 pi Rn, and so 2 pi Nt. Okay, this is in kilojoules. And if you want to, what is the power that is developed or given to the shaft, then per unit time. So N is number of revolutions, per unit time is RPM. Okay, this is not normally called as RPS or RP time, revolutions per second or revolutions per minute. Okay, and that is N is RP, number of revolutions only. So N dot is number of revolutions per second or per minute. So it will become kilowatts. So it is per second only. Usually in the problems when we see N will be given in RPM. So you have to divide by 60 so that you will get revolutions per second. That is to be substituted at N dot. Okay, shaft work is used in usually all IC engines, or energy transmission through rotating shaft is commonly encountered in practice. So in cars, trucks, and vehicles, all vehicles are ship, and all these things because of the rotating shaft. And spring work. So if a force is applied here and the spring gets extended through a distance x, suppose. So delta W of the spring is equal to F into dx, or F is equal to K into x. Force is equal to, this is spring stiffness and K. And the stiffness is kilonewtons per meter, and into x is into meters. So it will become kilonewtons. That is, F is Kx. And if I substitute here and integrate it, so x square by 2 I will get. So half K into x2 square minus x1 square by 2. This is W spring. This is spring work. So if I apply a force, suppose 300 newtons to the spring, it may extend by 1 mm. But if I extend it by 600 Newton force, then the extension will increase, that is 2 mm. Okay. So the displacement of a linear spring doubled when the force is doubled. This is spring work. And there will be elastic solid bars. So again, there can be force, and this force is nothing but stress into area. So sigma n into A. So integral of dx, F is sigma n into A dx. Okay, this is that. And then work associated with stretching of a liquid film. I have a liquid film here, and if this frame is moved this way, this film gets extended, and the frame is rigid, but the surface of the film is flexible. So when it is extended like this, so W surface is sigma S dA, and sigma is the stress, and the dA, that is the area of this extension, is B into 2B into dx. And F is equal to 2B sigma S. And work done to rise the body or accelerate the body. Work done to rise the body is again potential energy only, mg z, and accelerate, that is mg into z2 minus z1. And to accelerate the body, that is kinetic energy, half m into v2 square minus v1 square. So that is the way we get the kinetic energy. These things you are familiar. And there are non-mechanical forms of work, which we already discussed. Electrical work, the generalized force is the voltage, and the generalized displacement is the electrical charge. And magnetic work, the generalized force is magnetic field strength, and the generalized displacement is the total magnetic dipole moment. And electrical polarization work, the generalized force is electric field strength, and the generalized displacement is polarization of the medium. Okay, just to understand, there are various types of work, we are discussing it. We may not come across these things. Only thing is, whenever there is a work, there should be a force and a displacement. Then there will be work. Now, all those works come under thermodynamic work. All those works come under thermodynamic work. We F into dx or F into x or force into distance, that is mechanical work, and electrical work, magnetic work, and spring work, all those things, shaft work, everything comes under thermodynamic work. And work transfer is the energy transfer between system surroundings due to gradient of any intensive property between them other than temperature. And work is done by a system if the sole effect of the surroundings could be rising of a weight. Actually, this is the important definition for thermodynamic work. Work is done by a system if the sole effect on the surroundings could be the rising of a weight. Okay, we will see what is that. Work transfer by a system is positive, work transfer on the system is negative, and work is transient and boundary phenomena, work is path function and possess an exact differential. Okay, so we will see what is this. And if I have a system here, there is a battery, and battery, it is turning a motor, and motor is connected to a fan. And now if I take this as system, is there any work transfer? So if we ask the person who didn't study thermodynamics, so because he will not see any force, he will not see any movement. Okay, fan is rotating, but it is not going by a distance. F into force into distance is work. That's what we know. Here we don't see any movement through a distance, and we don't see any force there. So we don't know exactly whether there is any work transfer. He says there is no work transfer. But as a thermodynamics studied person, we have to say that there is work transfer if I take the system like this. So when this is turning the fan, there is electrical energy that is crossing the boundary. But to make him understand, how can I say there is a work transfer? So if I can convert this, if I remove the fan here and connect it to a pulley, and if I put a weight here, this weight gets raised up. So this can, if that energy transfer can be converted to the rise of a weight, then we can say there is a work transfer. To a common man, we can explain this way. Okay. So any energy transfer, if it can be converted into rising of a weight, then there is thermodynamic work transfer. Is it clear? Okay. So there is this important thing which we discussed throughout the semester, that is displacement work of a simple compressible system. So what is a simple compressible system? Simple compressible system is the one where there is only volume change and all the energy transfers are negligible, like magnetic, electric, and capillary or surface tension effects, all are negligible. Only there is a compression work is taking place, or expansion work, displacement work we call it as. Okay, there is a cylinder and gas, and that you have this gas in the cylinder is taken as the system, which is at pressure P1 and volume V1. The inner surface of the piston and the cylinder form the boundary. The piston is the only boundary which moves due to the gas pressure. So when there is, let the position moves out to a new position. Suppose outside pressure is less and inside pressure is high. So this pushes the piston to the right, and there will be expansion taking place. So here, if you see in the PV diagram, P1, B1 is the point here, and because this pressure gets reduced, it is getting expanded, so the expansion takes place like this. Okay, so it goes to the pressure P2 and V2, suppose, and at any intermediate point, the travel of the piston at the pressure P and volume V, and when the piston moves to an infinitesimal distance dl, and if A be the rate of area of the piston, the force acting on the piston is F is equal to P into A. And the infinitesimal amount of work done by the gas on the piston is delta W is equal to F into dl. So force into the distance moved. Okay, so this small distance, suppose this distance is dl and corresponding volume variation is dv. So A into dl is the change in volume, so PdV. Work is equal to force into distance, and force is equal to pressure into area, and dl is the length, change in length, and so AdL is the volume change, so PdV. So delta W is equal to PdV, which is called as displacement. dV is displacement volume. Okay, this is what is called as displacement work. So when the piston moves from 1 to 2, the volume changes from V1 to V2. The amount of work done is W1 to integral V1 to V2 PdV. This integral can be evaluated only if we know the functional relationship between P and V during the process. So I have to know, if I want to integrate it, P is to be expressed in terms of V so that I can integrate this. I have to know the relation between P and V as a mathematical relation. Then only I can integrate it. The area under the process curve on a PV diagram is equal to the magnitude to the work done during the quasi-equilibrium expansion or compression process of the closed system. Integral PdV is nothing but the area under this curve, because P into dV is this area of this. So P is pressure here, dV is the distance here. So area of the rectangle is the integral PdV. And if it is going from V1 to V2, the whole area under the curve is the work transfer. So when can we use this particular relation? The system must be closed and it is a non-flow process. And the system must be simple compressible system in the absence of electric, magnetic, gravitational motion and surface tension effects. And it should be a quasi-static process. And the boundary of the system should move in order that work may be transferred. Okay, these are the things must be satisfied. And so this PdV work or displacement work or moving boundary work for different quasi-static non-flow processes we have to derive. Okay, so there are various processes like constant volume process, which is isometric process. Constant pressure process is also called as isobaric or isopieastic process. And constant temperature is called isothermal process or hyperbolic process. And adiabatic process and polytropic process is a general process. We know all these processes. And if I want to apply this, so we quickly go through this, you know this. So W12 is equal to integral PdV 1 to 2. If it is constant volume process, because there is no change in volume, dV is 0 and the integral is 0. And if it is a constant pressure process, P1 equal to P2, P1 by T1 equal to V2 by T2. And when I do integral PdV, because P is constant, P can be taken out, and integral dV is V2 minus V1, so P into V2 minus V1. And constant temperature, integral PdV 1 to 2, because here PV is equal to constant C, and so P is to be expressed in terms of V, so P is equal to C by V, so C dV by V. Integral dV, C is constant, can be taken out, dV by V is log V2 by V1. So C is equal to P1 V1 or P2 V2. So it can be written in various forms. P1 V1 log V2 by V1, P2 V2 log V2 by V1, or P1 V1. V2 by V1 is nothing but P1 by P2. We can write like that. Or P1 V1 can be written as MRT1, MRT2. So all these in different forms based on the data, I can use any of the form. And if it is a adiabatic process, PV power gamma equal to constant. And so P equal to CV power minus gamma. So now substitute P is equal to CV power minus gamma. So C into V power minus gamma, if you integrate it, V power 1 minus gamma by 1 minus gamma. So giving the limits, V2 power 1 minus gamma minus V1 power 1 minus gamma. Okay, then C is equal to, you can write P1 V1 power gamma or P2 V2 power gamma. So P2 V2 power gamma into this is P2 V2. P1 V1 power gamma into this is P1 V1, and I get this relation like that. So P1 V1 minus P2 V2 by gamma minus 1. And P1 V1 can be written as MRT1 and MRT2. So MR into T1 minus T2 by gamma minus 1. So this is for adiabatic process. And for any polytropic process, PV power n equal to constant, just I have to replace gamma by n. I repeat the same process, I will get P1 V1 minus P2 V2 by n minus 1. I am giving all the results here for isochoric, isobaric, isothermal, adiabatic, and polytropic. And it can be the PV relation can be anything. Suppose I want to find out the displacement work for an isothermal expansion from V1 to V2 for a real gas with Van der Waals equation of state. So how to do that? So I know this is the Van der Waals equation of state because it is isothermal expansion. Here A is constant, B is constant, and T is constant. And so here P is to be expressed as a function of V. So take all the things other side. So P is equal to MRT by V minus B minus A by V square. So P expressed like this. Now you substitute that here. Now integrate this. So 1 by V minus B is log V minus B. And so log V2 by minus B by log V1 minus B. Sorry, log V2 minus B minus log V1 minus B. So you'll get like this. And minus A by V square. A by V square integration minus 1 by V. So minus minus gets plus. So 1 by V2 minus 1 by V1. So what is that I want to tell is integral PdV. If you know, the PV relation can be anything. It can be a real gas with different PV relations. Any real gas equation also can be used here. and different processes on a PV diagram. If I take, so for PV power n equal to constant, it is a general process. If n equal to 0, so this is P equal to constant. So it becomes like this. If n equal to infinity, that is isochoric process, constant volume process. If n equal to 1, PV equal to constant, isothermal. Though it is drawn like a straight line, it is actually rectangular hyperbola like this. But it is given some slope. Okay. So because this is 0 and this is 1 and this is infinity, and if I want to draw for adiabatic process, which is 1.4, gamma is n equal to 1.4. So this it must be more than 1. It is more than 1. Okay. So 1 is here, 0 is here, 1 is here. More than 1 means it should be here like this. So it becomes more steeper. Okay. Adiabatic line is steeper than an isothermal line. And as the value of polytropic index increases, the area included by the curve on the PV diagram decreases. Okay. So this has more area and this has less area under the curve. Right. So as n increases, the steepness of the curve increases and the area under the curve decreases. These are the main important points which we come across later also. Okay. So this is the way I want to cover. And next class we discuss first law of thermodynamics. And any doubts? So all these things you know, only thing is different forms of work we have discussed. Oh, okay. Work transient means actually this is only during transfer only we can find out. So when it is going from one system to another, when it is during transmission or transition. Okay, polytropic index, that is that PV power n equal to constant when you write, that is a polytropic process, and that power n is called as polytropic index. It is PV power n equal to constant is a general equation which represents all the processes. For different values of n, we get constant pressure, constant volume, constant temperature, or adiabatic. All these things we get from this for different values of n. That's why it is a polytype, like polytropic process, and the index n is called as polytropic index. Anything else? So we'll have the story. Okay, it's a beautiful, inspiring story. Just I may take 3-4 minutes. In 1883, a creative engineer named John Roebling was inspired by an idea to build a spectacular bridge connecting New York and the Long Island. However, bridge building experts throughout the world thought this was an impossible feat and told Roebling to forget the idea. It is a hanging bridge. It is a very long one. Until then, they never built such a bridge, and it is a risky thing and expensive thing, and people discouraged him. And people started telling it just could not be done. It was not practical. It had never been done before. But Roebling could not ignore the vision he had in his mind of this bridge. He thought about it all the time, and he knew deep in his heart that it could be done. He just had to share this dream with someone else who can understand him. And after much discussion and persuasion, after many years, he managed to convince his son, Washington Roebling, an up-and-coming engineer, that the bridge, in fact, could be built. So he convinced his own son after long persuasion and reasoning. And then his son also has joined. In working together for the first time, the father and son developed the concepts of how it could be accomplished and how the obstacles could be overcome. With great excitement and inspiration and the readiness of a wild challenge before them, they hired their crew and began to build their dream bridge. And always things will not be supporting us. The project started well, but when it was only a few months underway, a tragic accident on the site took the life of John Roebling. The father has passed away, and Washington Roebling was injured and left with a certain amount of brain damage, which resulted in him not being able to walk or talk or even move. Now he cannot talk, he cannot walk, or he cannot move also. So that is his position now. It is completely bedridden. And people started telling, we told them so, crazy men and their crazy dreams. It's foolish to chase wild visions. And everyone had a negative comment to make and felt that the project should be scrapped, since the Roeblings were the only ones who know how the bridge could be built. In spite of his handicap, Washington was never discouraged and still had a burning desire to complete the bridge, and his mind was still as sharp as ever. He tried to inspire and pass on the enthusiasm to some of his friends, but they were too daunted by the task. As he lay on the bed in his hospital room, with the sunlight streaming through the windows, a gentle breeze blew the flimsy white curtains apart, and he was able to see the sky and the beautiful sun and the tops of the trees outside. For just a moment, it seemed that there was a message for him not to give up. Suddenly, an idea hit him. All he could do was move one finger, and he decided to make the best use of his finger. By moving this, he slowly developed a code of communication with his wife. He touched his wife's arm with his finger, indicating to her that he wanted her to call the engineers again. It is like telegraphic code. He started tapping on her arm so that he could communicate. Then he used the same method of tapping her arm to tell the engineers what to do. It seemed foolish, but the project was under the way again. For 13 years, Washington Roebling tapped out his instructions with his finger on his wife's arm until the bridge was finally completed. Today, the spectacular Brooklyn Bridge stands in all its glory as a tribute to the triumph of one man's indomitable spirit and his determination not to be defeated by circumstances. It is also a tribute to the engineers and their teamwork and to their faith in a man who was considered mad by half of the world. It stands too as a tangible monument to the love and devotion of his wife, who for 13 long years patiently decoded the messages of her husband and told the engineers what to do. Perhaps this is one of the best examples of a never say die attitude that overcomes a terrible physical handicap and achieves an impossible goal. Often, when we face obstacles in our day-to-day life, our hurdles seem very small in comparison to what many others have to face. The Brooklyn Bridge shows us that dreams that seems impossible can be realized with a determination and persistence, no matter what the odds are. Even the most distant dream can be realized with a determination and persistence. That is the great Roeblings, John Roebling, Washington Roebling, and Emily Warren Roebling, wife of Washington Roebling. And you can see the Brooklyn Bridge. Okay, so this is the story, and very inspiring. Whenever you feel that I have troubles, I have difficulties, how can I do something? So just this story really gives you a lot of energy. Okay, bye. See you again on Wednesday, 10 to 11. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.